Hello, this is Mr. Wertz. Welcome back. We're going to talk today about the effects that humans have on the environment, human activities that affect the environment. Human activities change the land, oceans, and atmosphere of the earth. This causes a decrease in species of some wild plants and animals, and even some extinction. First area we're going to focus on, how humans impact the environment, is overpopulation and urban development. Because of improvements in medicine, health, and agriculture, we produced a huge rise in the human population. People are able to live longer. And then because people are living longer, more people require natural resources. As a result, more people, we need to cut down more trees for homes and to clear land to grow more food to sustain the population. As a result, we also use more energy for electricity, heating, and cooling buildings. Also, in turn, we use more vehicles for transportation, which requires greater use of fuels. Greater use of fossil fuels, such as coal and oil. Get it? Fossil fuels? I thought it was kind of funny. Some of you are laughing right now. Some probably aren't. Deforestation is another effect. As you can see, cutting down trees in forests. This could likely cause a decrease in the amount of plant and animal life in that area. This could lead to destruction of habitats and possibly endangered or extinct species. Greater soil erosion due to the lack of trees, keeping the soil in place due to wind and water flow. And finally, changes in the amount of oxygen and carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere. Obviously, if we have less trees, there's going to be less release of oxygen into the atmosphere. As a result, more carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere from different processes that people do, giving off those carbon dioxide gases. Let's now talk about landfills, or garbage dumps, however you want to look at it. This creates several possible environmental issues. It can cause soil and groundwater pollution and contamination. Now, most landfills are required to have the land and the adjacent land sealed off, but sometimes soil and groundwater gets polluted or contaminated. It gets through those barriers. More trash, more landfills increases the pest population, such as mice, rats, insects, etc., which can spread disease, which can cause health problems for nearby organisms near landfills. Now look at something that's very important to our area, especially in Clinton County and the Ovid-Elsie area, is farming. Farming technology has improved to grow and produce the greatest crop yield per land area. Some farmers rely heavily on herbicides, which kill weeds, and pesticides, which kills insects or other pests to grow their healthier crops. They might also use fertilizers to provide more nutrients for the plants. All this the farmers do to try and produce a greater yield of crops or plants per acre of land that they own. Now, there are several advantages to this modern day farming. Farmers can grow more food for a larger population. They can feed the world. They can earn a better living. More food means more money in their pockets, which in turn helps the economy. If farmers make a better living, they're going to be able to spend money at local stores and businesses, which will in turn help the local economy and the state economy and so on. Disadvantages, though, to traditional farming. After heavy rains, too many chemicals on the fields may run off into the local watersheds, causing water pollution, something we talked about in our last unit. Also, there's some people that feel that there can be a chemical residue in the crops after they're harvested. For example, let's say you go into the grocery store and buy some apples, or you buy some carrots or whatever. A lot of people feel farmers that use pesticides and herbicides can't completely get rid of those chemicals to grow those crops. And as a result, there's some of that residue of chemical left in the food that we purchase, which some people feel is unhealthy for us. Now, there's some other farming trends that I'd like you to be aware of. Many smaller farms are now practicing what's called organic farming. These farms do not use chemicals or fertilizers to grow their crops. This is more expensive and it produces less crops per acre of land, but some people are willing to pay more for this organic food in grocery stores. I want you to think about why they'd be willing to pay more for just a second, and maybe just in your head come up with an answer. If you said people believe that's healthier, no chemicals were used at all on the food, that's probably why people are paying a premium price for those in grocery stores. And if you look in the produce section, the fruits and vegetables, oftentimes right beside the regular produce stock, you'll see a lot of organic produce, which is usually more expensive. Usually not terribly expensive, but a little bit more than the normal produced farmers' crops. Let's now change gears. We don't have a lot around here, but let's talk about dams. That's a picture of the Hoover Dam, one of the most amazing pieces of architecture in the United States. But dams have a lot of advantages for a population of people. Dams can create hydroelectric power. Down here in the picture, you'll see, if I can get the mouse working, as the water comes in, it generates turbines underneath, which create huge amounts of electricity for large, vast areas out west in Nevada, California, New Mexico, and some adjacent states. Dams can also create lakes or reservoirs, you can see in the background there, of water for recreational use, for use in irrigation, watering different crops and things like that, or watering your lawn or something like that. There's a huge lake, I believe it's called Lake Mead, which is out west as a direct result of a lot of these dams, especially the Hoover Dam. Disadvantages of dams. Obviously, if you're blocking a water flow artificially, a man-made structure, it's going to prevent fish from moving along a river for food and to get shelter and to reproduce. Surface mining is another human impact on the environment. Stripping the soil and rock away from the natural Earth's, Stripping the soil and rock away from the natural resources. Coal and metal ore are a couple examples below the Earth's surface. So you can see a picture here. Basically, it's cutting into the Earth, pulling out stones, coal, different substances, and really not leaving a whole lot behind. A lot of the ground is infertile, and there's little chance for any plant growth once that's left over, or once they're done mining. And the machinery used often can leave behind harmful chemical residue. If you have oil leaks or gasoline or diesel fuel leaks, a lot of that is just left there and isn't cleaned up. You can see these surface mining areas. Actually, we have a couple, the Ovid gravel pit and some of the other gravel pits nearby are good examples of surface mining. How can we help out once we've pretty much taken a chunk out of the environment for people? Well, we can restore natural areas back to their, or somewhat back to their normal ways. Where areas of trees have been cut down, we can replant new ones. And you remember the 3 R's you learned in elementary school: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Especially recycling of wood, paper products, and other things helps slow down deforestation. And then cleaning up natural habitats is another good way. Cleaning up garbage, areas that have been polluted, and things like that. Another thing we can do is reopen areas that have blocked natural water flow through the watersheds. Examples, there are actually some unused dams. I believe there's one in Elsie, but dams that aren't really functional anymore. A lot of people are pitching in because it takes a lot of money and a lot of work and heavy equipment to tear down these dams so natural water flow can go through again. I'm not sure the man's name, but there's a guy that's basically a multimillionaire that's basically in his retirement, and that's his mission, to open up all these dams that aren't being used anymore. Also, we can focus on controlling invasive species. And there's one here in the Great Lakes that's you've seen in the news a lot, and just some crazy pictures. But examples would be, you guessed it, the Asian carp. You can see they're flying out of the water. A lot of videos you'll find on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, you can see, people are catching them by hand, they're catching them in buckets because they're everywhere. That species of carp has just invaded and is really making its way heavily into the Great Lakes. Not quite an infestation yet, but it's becoming a problem. Another one of the Great Lakes, and it's that creepy looking fish there, is called a sea lamprey. And you can see that they actually attach to fish in the Great Lakes, and they basically feed off their blood and their skin, and basically suck the nutrients out there and eventually can kill them. So those are two, and there's many other examples of invasive species. Species that haven't been here hundreds of years ago, that somehow got here from another country and another area of the world, and have reproduced, and really they're trying to take over our natural areas.